Hello everyone, BauwenDR here, and today I'm going to give my opinion on a pretty old level. Yes, today I will be giving my opinion on Gold Temple. The level was created by Surpunch back in the 2.0 update. The level was inspired by the at the time popular Temple series started by Michigan. Michigan, as most of you might know, was first on leaderboards back then, and maybe the player who was on top for the longest time ever. The series started in a 1.7 update, with some entries along the way up until the Ocean Temple. Trivia. There is surprisingly no fandom wiki page on this level, which really surprises me as most levels that got as popular as this level have a wiki page, so I'll have to do it myself. The level got 3rd place on Vibrant's Temple levels list made back in 2016. The level got beaten by Forest Temple in 2nd place and Orishnet Temple in 1st place. This list was made by Michigan and uploaded by Vibrant, so it was not Vibrant who put this level at first. Although I said there was no wiki page for the level, there is one, but it's all in Russian, so here's a trivia I could find from that page. The level won the Joint 2.0 award for best temple level. There is no low detail mode, or for short LDM, in the level, and so the player by the name of Toxic199 created low detail mode for the level. The level was exactly 30,000 objects, which surprises me as a limit back in 2.0 for those not knowing. The object limit was only around 30,000 back then, and the option to increase that limit only got added in a 2.1 update, as well as putting the limit at 40,000. The level is free to copy, and so is a good level to practice and beat if you want to do harder easy demons, because you won't have a problem getting a wrong version or having to search for a copy for an hour. Gameplay. The gameplay in this level isn't the best, but definitely not the worst. Most of the gameplay is made out of spam parts. One of the popular parts of this level, possibly best known one, is the ship part just before the drop at 35%, and is the hardest part of the whole level, and it's even harder on 60Hz monitors. Little fun fact, this was the first level ever I beat on 144Hz, and is the only level where I reference my refresh rate in the title. Other times it's just on top of the screen where it shows my FPS. The other parts of the level that are not spam are quite good and fit in pretty well. No single part really sticks out and doesn't feel right. The details. As mentioned before, the level only has 30,000 objects, which really surprises me as it uses those objects perfectly, or it's just me not knowing how to optimize a level. And so ending up with a lot of objects at the end. So onto the actual details. For the first part, the background has moving glow with a flashing triforce and a lot of dots. The block design in that part is lacking and minimalistic, so they show the background and uses the same style up until the ball. That part is pretty bland compared to the first part. The background, for example, is just one type of block. The block design is just 2 lines with some hexagons underneath, and last of all, the ground has some spikes moving in and out of sides. The wave part just after uses the same brick blocks throughout the whole part, with a similar background with some yellow goldish glow added on top. The next part is way brighter but doesn't have a lot of block design, as most objects were put to use in the art scene in the background. The blocks do shine a bit, which is achieved by moving glow over them. Then for the most infamous part, the block designs are pretty cool with the curves, and I imagine not being that easy to do, but just like the previous part has a focus on the background, which is in this case the Master Swords. The next part of the level is a duel, is also a heavily focused on the background, using about the same block deco as the second wave part. For the background, it uses the eye symbol from the Legend of Zelda series, if I'm correct. The next part is pretty bland in the background. It's one yellow brownish color with some glow added on top. And the foreground is pretty well decorated. I really like those branches in the corners. The block deco is not that bad and fits in just perfectly. From the top onwards, it uses a lot of flashes, but still makes it clear what you have to do and doesn't make a mess of it all. The block deco is good and some of the best in the level, and the background are just the reused assets from earlier to save up some objects. The synchronization. The first part is pretty well synchronized and is one of the better parts in terms of synchronization. The other parts before the drop lack a bit of synchronization, although the synchronization in the wave spam sections is pretty good and the ship synchronizes to the orbs. And the synchronization in the duel isn't that good, but better than some parts. After the drop, the synchronization is the best of the whole level, with everything synchronizing to at least one thing. Originality. The level itself is a pretty unoriginal, as the Temple series was just at its peak when the level was made. Surpunch had just created a collab with Vibrant on another temple level, and so isn't all that original. This level uses a lot of the Legend of Zelda assets, just as the other levels from the temple series, because of the series having ties to the Legend of Zelda franchise. But it uses a lot more art than the usual temple level. That's mainly because it was made in 2.0 in terms of made in 2.0. In terms of gameplay, well, some parts are not original, such as every spam part in the level. One place where the level strove away from the series is in the drop, as no other temple levels had a caliber of that drop up until that point. End score. So I've said enough about this level, I think. So I will, as always, give a total score on the level. This week's score is an amazing 9 out of 10, which is a pretty high score. There's a lot of levels that I have featured, lost a lot of points because of its originality, and well, that's the only reason why this has lost a point. Some of the positives is the object amount, because it's not that short of a level, but still manages to feel like the object minute is at least double. So that was it for for the longest Geometrish opinion video so far. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. With flashing Triforce, with a flashing Triforce